Matthew Lee, Inner City Press, on behalf of the Free UN Coalition for Access. Thanks a lot for this press conference and for what you've done this year to take questions. I wanted to, first of all, on oceans, do you believe that there should be a special representative on oceans? And if so, what would be a process to create one, if you say yes? And the other one has to do, is a different aspect of UN reform. This summer I was covering it was called the Ing Lap Sang trial, but it would have been the John Ashe trial had he not passed away, rest in peace. But one of the documents introduced was this UN task force report on the PGA's off. It was a task force report prepared by Edmund Millay and others, and it was put into evidence. And one of the quotes is that the task force found that there are no formal agreed common principles of ethical conduct or financial disclosure measures for the president and the personnel of the office, meaning the PGA's office. And I know that you've sort of voluntarily done quite a bit on the website, but how has this critique of even the UN's own task force been addressed? Do you think that there's a need for actually these things to be more than voluntary going forward, with all due respect to the incoming PGA? And what steps would you suggest or propose?
I think that's a really important point. In fact, we've got the GA revitalization resolution this afternoon. It's going through. And I was just looking at my remarks and introducing that, and I was wondering if I should put something about ethics in there, because when I did go to speak to them, I said that ethics is an area which we must have such strong vigilance on in an organization like this. There are crows that pick around the edge of our institution all the time. You see them every day. And we need to have a better ethical system in terms of, who is allowed to even come into our halls. This is a place where giants have trod. This is a place where huge responsibilities for humanity lie. And yet we have some rather dubious characters who are allowed into these halls. And it's not something I enjoy seeing, and I do think that we have to pay particular attention to that. You saw the effects of it with what John Ashe, may he rest in peace, got caught up in. In terms of the Millay report, of course, since then, the General Assembly did take action. When I came into office, I was the first president that had to take this oath of office, which refers to an ethical code, which again, the General Assembly, through its ad hoc working group on GA revitalization, put in place. And that was a heavily debated thing as to what should be in that code of ethics and what should be in the PGA's oath. So I have been bound by that, and if you come into my office, please come in. I'd love to have a photograph taken in front of it, because anybody who comes to my office does get photographed in it. Both the code of ethics and the oath are on the wall beside the flags. So the PGA's office now is bound by those. And it was the first thing that I showed to Minister Lycek when he came and said, that's us, these two things up there. And all our staff are bound by that as well. So I think we've probably done enough as far as the PGA's office is concerned. There's a lot more to be done in terms of the PGA's office, and that'll stay on the agenda of the ad hoc working group for GA revitalization. I'd say watch that space, because you can't just keep loading things onto the presidency. But member states can't keep giving these mandates and expect one lady or one man to, assemble enough people around him or her that they can actually carry out those mandates. There has to be more of a secretariat in that office, a permanent secretariat of professionals. Luckily, most PGAs tend to get really good professionals around them. I was certainly very lucky in that regard this year. As to your second question on the Ocean Conference, I would have to hide my head in shame for the rest of my life if we weren't doing follow-up to the Ocean Conference. There was a very strong call from member states for there to be a special representative or a special envoy, and the SG is called upon to take action in that regard. I would expect there to be action. In the meantime, we've set up with UNDESA, who have taken on consultants, the modeling of everything that came out of the Ocean Conference, modeling it and breaking it down into workable clusters. I am very strong on the fact that we have to meet again in 2020, a second UN conference in 2020. It's got to be mandated by the member states yet, and that's a task at hand. But I'll bet my house on it. If I did have a house, I don't. Yeah, I would bet my whatever on it, that we will all be getting together in 2020 for our next moment of accountability on SDG 14. Why? Because we're going to shape over the next 3 years everybody that was involved, both the scientific community and the business sector and civil society, as well as UN Oceans, which itself is undergoing review at the moment. We're going to shape everybody to be concentrating on 2020 as the time when we have to deliver on the outcomes of the 2017 conference. And we'll be sharing what those outcomes are, what that work plan is, and everybody is going to be turning up in 2020 and is going to be expected to say, what did we do in the intervening 3 years? And we're going to assess our successes and failures, make the necessary adjustments, and go on to succeed in SDG 14 by 2030. I think, from what I've seen, there is enough unanimity, if that's the word, on this from all sectors that we've got the momentum on SDG 14. I'm not giving up on it, that's for sure.